Thanks for joining today's live stream, 22nd of May. We'll be going through the chart requests, also just an analysis overall of the crypto market. So first looking at Bitcoin, obviously past few days we've seen some pretty strong expansion, and as we discussed in the previous streams, the key level to hold previously was this daily order block and 4-hour fair value gap. And then in the last live stream, we discussed this break of structure and this possible inversion of a bearish daily fair value gap, and this did confirm. So right now we're definitely in bullish order flow. The trend is bullish. Just something to keep in mind in terms of short-term retracements is that we did reach the equal highest target at 71,400. So we can see a bit of a retrace, and right now just looking for this fill of this 4-hour fair value gap. Pretty straightforward stuff. So it's at 68,900, and from there we should probably see a positive reaction and a strong buyback across the market. So you can see with Bitcoin pulling back, most alts are also sort of going down a bit right now. You can have a look at the Bitcoin dominance, because if we were to focus on trading altcoins, we want this dominance index to trend downwards. And so far it just looks like it's kind of in a range. But I still expect dominance to head downwards overall over the next few weeks towards the 51% level. So right now it's at 55%, so that indicates that there's a lot of room for altcoins to outperform Bitcoin. Also, something to take note of is the Ethereum ETF news. So definitely the confirmation of whether it will be approved or denied will probably have a very large impact on the entire market. So obviously if the ETF is denied this coming Friday, we probably see a very significant pullback across the board, which can round trip the entire pump from the past few days. So just be aware of that. But if we do get the approval, we can probably continue to trade the same price action. So looking at the Ethereum BTC charts, I previously discussed the room for further downside towards 0.046. And yeah, you can see that this level has been tapped and has given a very positive reaction, and we have a break of structure on the daily chart. So right now, Ethereum BTC pair is quite strong, and we want this to continue moving upwards over the next several weeks as a sort of leading indicator for the rest of the market and other altcoins. But yeah, just take note of how previously the daily 200 EMA, the gray line here, has acted as resistance. Even after a momentary breakout, it goes back down. So we need to see if Ethereum BTC can sustain this upside movement. Right, moving down to the lower time frames on Bitcoin. Reason I marked out this 4-hour fair value gap as well. You can see that it's actually the sell side liquidity on the lower time frames. So yeah, pretty important concept to keep in mind is that a higher time frame ADOA, like a fair value gap or order block, is actually also lower time frame liquidity. So if we get a sweep of these lows here down to 68,900 and a strong buyback, that's definitely a bullish sign, and we can look for further upside targets all the way to 72,800 and 74k. So yeah, that's pretty much all for Bitcoin right now. Is there any chart requests so far? Otherwise, I'll just move through the different sectors. So there'll be major caps, AI, shitcoins, and some other things as well. Also, just a quick note, I had a limit order on Dent here. Supposedly it failed on Binance, but not on my exchange, nor on Bybit. Hopefully we can get the actual fill, because it's looking like a pretty decent setup. So mainly with altcoins, you want to see actual bullish structure or something like this. So shallow pullback and continuation with clear upside targets. So that's what we have here on Dent, and that's why I have the long setup on it. So we'll start off with looking at Bone. Yep, so I think Ahmed has a long position running on this coin here. And yeah, it's just basically a sort of continuation setup, right? So you can see this 4-hour small fair value gap has acted as support so far. And yeah, right now it's just pulling back from this daily fair value gap. But you can see that the order flow so far has been quite bullish all the way. So expectation is just a temporary pullback, and we'll see continuation soon afterwards. So 1 hour charts, potentially what we can see play out is just something like this, right? So sweep of this this low here, and then a reaction from the order block. But definitely the trend is towards the upside. It's just a small retracement so far. Alright, any other chart requests, just let me know in the live stream trading chat. I'll move on to looking at some large caps, so like Solana and AVAX. Okay, cool. So yeah, last live stream I talked about this previous trading range from back in March, which is from 162 to 210, and pretty much for continuation, price just needed to reclaim above and also reclaim above this blue box here. Definitely you can see that the expansion on Bitcoin past few days has definitely given the strength to Solana as well to push towards the upside. So the bottom formation here was basically this bullish order block. So the order block that dug into the previous low and initiated the strong buyback reaction right here, and successful retest of this order block and continuation towards the upside. So if you guys want to learn more about that, I have a video called how to identify trend reversals, and that's pretty much the sort of key confirmation when you're looking for a bottom to form. Alright, so sweep of a higher time frame low, formation of a bullish order block, and successful retest and continuation. So right now you can see that price has reclaimed the March trading range lows and also inverted this daily fair value gap. So definitely the bias and current order flow is very bullish. So we'll be looking for basically any reason to go long. Alright, so in terms of the short term, you can see that this candle, we can kind of treat it as a range for lower time frames, and the high of the candle has been swept already. So for long entries, we can look for the low of this candle to be swept, and then we can see continuation. And this also aligns quite well with this 4-hour order block, so we got some nice confluence here. Okay, so the key level is 167.63. Have my alert set there, so 167.55. If we do get the sweep, I'll be looking for a positive reaction from that level, and from there we can enter into a long position. So invalidation probably below 162.45, and we can target pretty much all the way up to the previous highs in March. It's definitely looking quite strong. So hopefully that's clear enough. We'll move on to the other large caps. So AVAX. And yeah, just wanted to discuss a bit about the trades I executed on the stream last week. So one of the trades was this AVAX long position, which was just based on a strong reaction from these lows here, buyback from the value area low, and also the energetic move above these previous highs, market structure break. Unfortunately, on the actual alerts, I closed on this shallow pullback here into the 4-hour fair value gap, which is obviously a very dumb decision in hindsight. So it shows that when you have a trading plan and an validation set, usually it's a good idea to just stick to it. So the reason why I closed it was just because I pretty much had no time to trade at all last week. So I didn't want to hold any positions in drawdown, right? So on that day, the New York session was quite a bloodbath, and that pretty much spooked me out from this position and just closed it right at the bottom before it reversed all the way to the take profit. So yeah, definitely in trading, it's important to actually fully understand what your trading plan is about, have faith in the trading plan, and actually see it out. So sticking to the targets, the stop loss, and the invalidations set beforehand, rather than reacting to whatever like the New York session does, or any like volatile price movements during market opens. Because definitely we can see that New York sessions lately in the past few weeks have been extremely predatory, as in they seek out liquidity aggressively and reverse aggressively as well. So just checking out traders. So definitely it's important to just keep in perspective of the trading plan, the sort of higher time frame idea as well. Don't get too caught up in the lower time frames. Anyways, so on AVAX here, we're looking for a flip of the trading range. So the range highs was previously at 39.05. So we're just looking for the previous range highs to flip into support. So it's pretty straightforward. And we can do this with some precision using the rolling profile. Alright, so for range breakouts, in the worst case, we just want to see the value area high being flipped into support. And that also aligns with the 4-hour fair value gap plus break and block here. Alright, so that's pretty much the maximum pullback I'm expecting. But if it's quite strong, we can definitely see a reaction right around here. We have also a 4-hour fair value gap here as well. And if you go down to the lower time frames, this is also a sell side liquidity sweep. Right, on the lower time frames, these ascending lows here, people setting stop loss on the trend line has been shaken out here by this sharp drop in price. But yeah, in terms of the maximum pullback, this is what I'm looking for. So around 37.15, but around here we can see a reaction as well. Yeah, sure. We'll look at JTO as well. Okay, so we have a long position active from Ahmed on JTO as well. Yeah, it's just based on a retracement to the 4-hour fair value gap, and reacting from there. So if we pull the fibs from the origin of the move to the peak, we're right at the optimal trade entry. So we do want to see a reaction before price closes below 3.96, which is the 79% retracement. So just something to watch out for. We expect to see a reaction from here, but sometimes it can just go all the way and fade the entire pump, right? But chances are we do see a reaction around here just because of the bullish trend, bullish order flow, and just pretty strong support from around this price level. So yeah, it should be close to bottoming out around here, but the invalidation is quite clear, right? Which is candle closures below 3.96, and that's reflected in the stop loss of the trade. And yeah, this was just a limit order I attempted previously, which did not get filled. But I can see that bottom formations are quite similar in terms of just sweeping out an old low, reacting from an order block, and continuing higher. Hopefully we actually get a fill on dent here, because it will be quite annoying to see it fly away and not give me the fill when it's just like fractions of a cent away. So we looked at AVAX, Solana, and yeah, in terms of the large caps, I'll check out INJ as well. Alright, so I think, yeah, the previous discussion we had was just strong buyback from sweeping these lows here, and just trading within the current trading range. And you can see that's kind of what it's doing right now. So we do have previous range lows from early January at 30.27. That's pretty much the key level to reclaim, and we expect it to act as strong support. And just remember what I've discussed before about trading ranges. So how to trade these ranges, which is using the fixed range volume profile, so anchoring it from the beginning of the range towards the end, and keeping it simple. So we look for longs below value area low, and we look for shorts above value area high. So you can see price is currently above the value area high. So we either need to see a flip of resistance into support, literally right here, or shorts are favored and we get a move back towards the range lows. Right, but if we do see a positive reaction right around here, we can next kind of look for a reclaim of the previous range lows from back in January. That's pretty much the key condition on the higher time frames for a truly expansive move towards 45 and higher. But yeah, right now just treat it as a trading range. And also we have the daily 200 EMA dynamic resistance as well. So I'll look at some AI sector coins as well. And again, if there's any chart requests, just throw them into the live stream trading chat. Okay, so let's look at some shitcoins first before we look at the AI sector. So looking at WIF first. Yeah, so I previously discussed the condition for a large expansive move is for price to close above this blue box here, and you can see that it's still acting as resistance and price is unable to move above that level. In terms of the lower time frames, you can kind of see the sort of power of the right here, which is these accumulated lows here, a sharp move towards the downside to shake out all of the long positions, followed by a swift buyback and reclaim of these lows. So on the lower time frames, it's looking fairly strong. So if you're looking too long, it would just be the invalidation point of 2.73. So price closing multiple candles below 2.73 and indicating that the range has been lost. Yeah, so in terms of what we can see for now, it's probably just a move back to the range highs, and then we can see what happens there. But this blue area here is definitely very strong resistance, so it can just be something like this. And if it rejects from here, it probably goes all the way down to these lows here. We have the sell side liquidity equal lows resting at 2.23. But yeah, short term we can see up to 3.18 quite easily. We have these equal highs here. Moving on to Bonk. So that's also a trade I took on last week's stream, which ultimately hit the price target. But yeah, same thing, just closed out before it reached the stop loss, and pretty much just closed out at the bottom. So just stick to the trade plan. If the invalidation makes logical sense, then there's no reason to just abandon that plan and close out beforehand. And you can see that the invalidation point of the 4-hour fair value gap held pretty well. Anyways, in terms of what price is currently doing, it's pretty clear to see we have resistance at 0.029, which price has broken above. So you can potentially just look for a resistance support flip. So previous resistance flips into support. Usually, like these sort of price action movements are quite straightforward on these shitcoins. It's better to just keep it simple. Alright, so yeah, in terms of the short term, something quite plausible is just something like this. So pull back into the 4-hour fair value gap, confirm the resistance support flip, and then potentially continuation upwards. And yep, that aligns with the daily fair value gap as well. Alright, so following the fill of the daily fair value gap, we probably see then an opposing move to the highs here. So the high of this candle at 0.0345. Let's look at Pepe as well. So apparently it's at a new all-time highs. Yep, so definitely higher time frames remain quite bullish. You can see it just from the bullish order flow as well. So this daily fair value gap has been filled and gave the next expansion upwards. So yeah, when shitcoins are in price discovery, it's quite risky to attempt to short it. Usually the best play would just be to look for a continuation. So using the sort of candle range theory approach, you can see that the high of this candle has been swept previously. So then we can look for the low of the candle to be swept, which is 0.0108. And that coincides with a fill of the daily fair value gap. Right, so it looks something like this on lower time frames. So this is also a 4-hour fair value gap, and if we go even lower to the 1-hour time frame, you can see this is an old low, which is sell side liquidity. Right, so it goes back to the previous concept that higher time frames fair value gaps are liquidity levels on lower time frames. Sheep, we can probably just move on. It's not really doing too much. And Dogecoin, we have this key breaker block level, the blue area. So same sort of concept applies here. Right, very strong resistance here. Swept out the buy side liquidity from these old highs here as well. So you do expect pretty steep pullback compared to other coins. But yeah, if it can push again, it might be able to reclaim this blue box here. And following that is when we can see the very strong expansive move. You can similarly apply the candle range theory here to Dogecoin. So you can see that using this daily candle, the high has been swept. So next we look for the low of the candle to be swept, and that aligns with the fill of the daily fair value gap. And how it looks on lower time frames, it's a fair value gap on the 4-hour, and on the 1-hour you can see it's actually equal lows. Right, so once again, higher time frame fair value gap is liquidity on lower time frames. So alerts set on these sell side levels. Watch for positive reaction buyback, and we can look to enter into long positions. Any other chart requests? Alright, so let's move on to the next sector. We've covered some large caps, shitcoins, so we can check out some AI coins as well. Firstly, looking at AGIX. So actually it's looking kind of promising just because of how it's reclaimed this level here at 1.0251. The logic behind it is basically old range lows are usually quite heavily resistance. So if that is able to be cleared out, price kind of has thin air above to basically keep moving upwards. Right, so like lower resistance zone above, and that's what we can kind of look to see play out here on AGIX. Right, so to be confident in longs and holding the position all the way up to previous highs, such as 1.4, we preferably want to see a sort of break of structure move here. So that means basically a green daily close right here. So this daily candle is good because it has a large candle body, and if this closes as green as well, it leaves behind a fair value gap, which would be displacement. So break of structure with displacement. And following that, it will pretty much be a confirmation of breakout. Price can momentarily retrace into the created fair value gap and continue higher. In that case, it will be a very bullish sort of sign. Right, so that's pretty much what we are watching out for. So green daily candle closure for confirmation of break of structure with displacement, and then potentially retrace into this fair value gap and then continuing much higher. So we have a request for Claw, which is an AI sector coin. I see it's only listed on MEXC, so it's probably pretty low cap. And yeah, it's not really something I would trade too much just because of how this no volatility. Right? When we trade, we prefer to catch expansive moves, so moves with a large percentage rather than just small sideways moves, because in that case we don't really have much upside for that. But if you have done your research, then it's fine to just hold on to it and wait for it to sort of get its expansive move. But the chart, personally, I'd say it doesn't look too bad. But just low volatility. It's okay for spot, I think. So yeah, it should be near the bottom. So we have sweep of lows here, and then daily fair value gap continuing to hold as support. So it should be forming a bottom, pretty much. Cool, no worries. Alright, so for render, in our previous stream we discussed the flip, the hold of this breaker block daily chart, and it has held very nicely. And also reclaim of the March range lows, and that's held well as well. So it's definitely very bullish for the short term and medium term. Just for the immediate short term, it's fulfilled its buy side target. So we can see it form maybe something of a range here. So a retrace down to range lows before continuation. Potential area to watch is this 4-hour fair value gap here. FET seems to be trying to do the same thing, but maybe just at a slower pace than render. So you can see this arrow drawn out, and that is basically just the same sort of concept. So a reclaim of the March range lows, clearing out the resistance all the way from here, and then pretty much lower resistance for movement towards the upside. So pretty much we want to just see price be able to hold above 2.44 and not form something like this here, which is a false breakout, and move all the way back down to the range lows. So it doesn't look as strong as render, but it's worthwhile to keep an eye on just for the upside potential if it can sustain the reclaim of 2.45. Alright, so for Ocean, you can right away tell it's a sort of trading range. So with any trading range, you use the fixed range volume profile from the start of the range to the current price to help you determine the value area low and value area high. And pretty much you just want to see for a breakout, price sustained above the value area high. For this one, perhaps should redraw it. Right, this is probably more accurate. Right, so price sustained above value area high, which is 1.025. Otherwise, short positions down towards value area low, and below value area low, we look at long positions. Right, so regarding bonk, I looked at it just before, but as a quick recap, I'm just looking for something like this. So down below previous day low at 0.03. And a positive reaction, so a strong buyback after that to confirm the flip of resistance into support. Right, and that's just based on candle range theory. So sweep of the candle range low, fill of the daily fair value gap, and positive reaction from there. And once again, fill of a higher time frame fair value gap is a sweep of liquidity on lower time frames. So these equalize here. Let's check out what York session is up to. It seems like not much volatility on this open, but yeah, plan remains the same. Which is something like this. And yep, still waiting for a fill on dent. So yeah, probably no active trading in today's stream just due to where price is currently at, which is pretty much waiting for a retrace to finish and then re-entering into long positions. So definitely with these sort of expansive moves, right, it's definitely worthwhile to be patient, have a plan, and stick to the plan, rather than acting on emotion. Something like fear of missing out, fearing that it's just going to keep pumping, whereas it's important to keep rational. So upside buy side liquidity target has been met, so we obviously get a retrace, which is where we mark out our key levels, watch for a reaction from there, and react accordingly. So if we get a positive reaction from that level, we stick to the plan and enter into the long setups. Otherwise, we can search for lower levels for a reaction and new setup. I just quickly wanted to discuss the analysis we did on Pendle last week, which played out very nicely. So yeah, we discussed last week how this level right here would be the retest level for continuation, and that's exactly how it played out. And pretty much, right, what we looked at was using the candle range theory. Right, which is using this weekly candle right here, this low here, as our point of interest. You can see this candle here swept below this weekly candle low, and then it reacted, strong buyback, and proceeded to take out the high of the weekly candle. Right, so pretty much this candle low marked out on the weekly time frame, and then moving towards the lower time frame for our key lows, right, which is this daily fair value gap. We wanted to see this be inverted and indicate a sign of bullish order flow. So this did get inverted into support, right? So that is some early confirmation of bullish order flow, meaning bullish trend, and it began the expansion. And you can see what it kind of looks like on lower time frames, right? So this weekly candle low here was the sell side liquidity, and the moment below this level here was just basically a deviation of the price. So a fake out to induce short positions at the bottom, and also to shake out long positions before initiating the reversal towards the upside. Alright, and this level was specifically marked out because it was the 4-hour order block level. So a red down close candle before an expansive move. And also the daily fair value gap inverted. Alright, so hopefully all of that was clear enough, and in terms of like the sort of things I'm looking out for before opening into new positions. Is there any other chart requests before I end the stream? So if you guys are in any trade positions, happy to check out the charts and see what's going on. Just throw it into the live stream trading chat. Yeah, sure. Let's have a look at Jasmine. And I believe you're in a long position for this, right? Yeah, cool. And yep, I talked about bonk just before, but pretty much it's just something like this right here. Okay, so have your alert set at 0.003 and see where we go from there. That's the support, resistance support flip, and sell side liquidity on lower time frames. Alright, so yeah, I do remember Peter calling out the long position for this, but I don't quite remember the setup he had. I'll just have a look for it real quick. Alright, so it looks like it's just a lower time frame position. And on lower time frames, I can kind of see the setup, right? So have these lows here, sell side has been swept, and then we have the buy side, which is yet to be swept. So on lower time frames, it's definitely plausible to see something like this first, but definitely if Bitcoin is pushing down, then it doesn't necessarily have to seek out these highs immediately. But on the higher time frames, it's not really showing anything noteworthy in my opinion. It just looks like it's a sideways movement without a lot of volatility. Yep, sure, let's have a look at UMA, but hopefully that's clear enough for Jasmine. Yeah, so UMA had this crazy expensive move a few weeks ago, almost 100%, and since then it's kind of lost its volatility. So with these sort of shit coins, lower cap, where they just have this crazy pump and then just a lot of sideways movement, usually once the pump is over, it's no longer really worth trading. It's worth trading for a while because you can see like these movements are quite volatile, but the volatility kind of dies down, you can see here, and then there's not much reason to trade it. You simply just have to just look at what happened last time. It's actually a really similar fractal to this pump from back in January, so we can use the bar pattern and see how it plays out and just scale it to the current movement. Alright, you can see it's really similar. It's just goes sideways for a very long time, and then it's a sort of seek and destroy profile. Right, sell side liquidity swept out, and then buy side liquidity, and then low swept once again, high swept once again. Kind of like an expanding triangle. So moving on to ENA. Yeah, so definitely you can see the hype is sort of worn off with this. So back in April, it had the sort of shiny new coin hype, and then now it's sort of died off, and volatility has died down a bit as well. So in terms of the short term, so we did have a market structure shift, and then we have this fair value gap here. So in the short term, we can probably see something like this. Right, so retracement into the 4-hour fair value gap, and then seeking out the highs here, which is also the trendline liquidity. But following that, it's probably just continuing down. Right, you can kind of see the overall trend on higher time frames is towards the downside. Yeah, potentially it could be worth shorting. So we'll just have to see the sort of reaction once it sweeps out these highs here. And we can also sort of apply the candle range idea here as well, using this daily candle. So these highs here will be the point of interest. We just want to see what happens once it sweeps out this high. So point line 0. Alright, cool. So I think that pretty much covers most of what I wanted to go through for today. So we have the plan set. It's basically just waiting for the retracement to wrap up, and then we'll catch some continuation long setups on various altcoins, specifically altcoins that are showing bullish order flow, market structure, and just generally outperforming the market. So we've gone through a few of those today and have our alerts set at the key levels. So once all of that is triggered, we just see if we get a positive reaction, and we just go from there. So no new trades for today, but possibly some more in the coming days. Alright, awesome. Thank you guys for attending the stream again this week. I stream on Wednesday New York session every week, so yep, hope to see you all again next week. Safe trading. Bye bye.